looking at the growth versus the fixed mindset that we talked about. The fixed mindset is, it's fear of failure, avoid challenges. Um, and if I put my personal experience, because I grew up in a fixed mindset environment, like as most of us probably did, if you weren't born in in the last 20 years. And fake it till you make it. And maybe people didn't say it verbally, but it's like, no, never say you don't know how to do something. It's okay. I don't know how to do that yet. That should not mean that there is nothing else you can do, right? Competent versus incompetent is a spectrum. There's many levels of competency between it. That's one. And two, maybe I'm not competent as a JS node developer, which I'm not. Um, that does not mean I'm incompetent. There's many other things I am competent in. So we should not be afraid of saying, I don't know how to do something yet. I want to learn how to do it. Uh, we should not be trying to isolate to one small change. We need to look broader. We've heard these cliches or phrases, overused phrases, whatever it may be. Can't see the forest for the trees. So we need to step back continually, not continuously, but on a cadence, ceremonially. The growth mindset, on the other hand, with the principles of lean, agile, DevOps, and customer centricity, this is what really forms the power. And I will give like a bit of a one-liner for what I feel for each of these. The growth mindset by itself, right? And Carol Dweck, loosely quoting her, said, just whenever you don't know how to do something, you just describe it as, I don't know how to do it yet, or I cannot do it yet. It's the power of yet. Because through practice, well, through learning, practice, maybe observing others, more practice, adjusting how we did an action, more practice, we can really learn how to do anything. And that is the idea, right? Linking knowledge workers now to the growth mindset. Their autonomy, their mastery that they're looking for, it's driven through the growth mindset. So growth, the not scale, not becoming bigger, becoming not quantitative growth necessarily, right? Not saying you can't do quantitative growth. It's qualitative growth, better. Lean. This is, to me, lean is the idea of value streams where, you have this idea and this idea is based on an outcome or a customer that wants it. And you're just trying to get the value to that customer as quickly as possible. You look at waste, you're like, anything in between, does it follow Tim Woods? Does it fall into Tim Woods' waste? We need to eliminate it, take it out, just bring it down, remove all the non-value added steps that exist between identifying an opportunity and getting it to that customer and validating. Did they say yes? Lean has got a lot of hypothesis as well in it, right? Which we see in Agile too. But Lean says you come up with a hypothesis of how you're going to respond to that opportunity and you validate with that customer, did we meet that hypothesis? And that's now getting into the world of Agile, where there's so many definitions of Agile. Agile really fundamentally comes down to outcomes. You've probably heard outcomes over outputs. So Agile is the understanding or the acceptance that if I am building something, right, because it started in software, but it can be applied to anything. If I'm building something for an external customer, at best, what I can do is verify that my hypothesis and the people or me myself collected that hypothesis and based it with positive intent so that the customer will say yes. The customer will validate, yes, this is what I was looking for. Right? And when you combine that with lean, well, then let's try to build it in smaller pieces. Let's get that no answer from the customer as early as possible. Let's not build so much, and then for the customer to say, oh, the first thing you built was wrong, and we built so much on it. It it is a lot of that, and that's where experimentation comes in, not just on the experience, asking the customer, well, what do you want? Also on the solution, asking the internal customers, the operators, and keeping that going and getting this emergent, very complex agile, right? This emergent environment of, wow, we had a vision of what our product would do, and the product is doing that. But we had no idea how we would do it. We had no idea that it would be doing this. And that is technically the world of agile, right? It's all about the outcomes. Oh, we started to build a swing, and after we showed the first thing to the customer came back, started describing a slide, and we switched to building a slide. Is the customer happy? Yes. And we could only validate that with the customer, right? So we try to minimize all the steps we take prior to that validation, which I've taken the term verification. We're trying to minimize the verification steps because I'm not saying don't verify your work, but at the end of the day, it's false if we pile verification upon verification without validating it, right? It's verification cannot be used as a proxy for validation. Now moving on to DevOps, which is a culture in itself, right? It's unfortunate that the term DevOps has become tooling, CI/CD, which is a part of it, but it is a culture. I would have loved to use, and I say this in all my videos, I would have loved to use the term change ops, but then it would break my acronym of GLAD. So DevOps, it remains, but the idea and the culture is change ops. And the way I like to look at DevOps is the the environment, right? The external environment, whether it's external to me as an individual, myself, right? Just the people and my surroundings, or whether it's the environment for a business, their external, their production environment, their competitors, how other threats can access their web, or whatever it may be. All of that external environment is not new. It is an existing running environment. There are people and there are processes and there are tools and technologies running in that existing environment. And every change I make, I am making a change to that existing environment. I'm making a change to a tool that is going to impact the people that are making that change. And I should make that change in a manner that I was receiving it. I was receiving that change as the customer using the product. I was receiving that change as an operator supporting the tools or the technologies or supporting that customer. And that is the idea. It's a level of empathy, but very much so on the person making the change to do it in that manner, right? Let me make it easy to toggle this feature on off or whatever it may be as part of development. And finally, customer centric, right? Don't need to say too much, but I will say, just in case you haven't heard it before, that, and this is more for businesses, first, we have to remember the customer because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have the greatest product, whether it be a goods or services, it does not matter. If you do not have a customer for that product, you do not have a product. Plain and simple. If nobody is willing to buy or consume, then you don't that product does not exist. So very important. If we move to the individual, this is where it gets really interesting, and you might see some other videos where I talk about the purpose and the entropy of that purpose. But individual, you're technically the customer, or you're very close to your customer, meaning businesses have this idea of purpose entropy where they have so many layers of proxies, and sometimes it's unavoidable, right? You can't put developers in focus groups with customers all the time. Maybe in a medium business you could, but as you get to large enterprises, that becomes tough. So you have these proxies between the person describing or the group describing the purpose and the individuals implementing that idea. So there's potential for lossy communication, right? Where things are lost in translation. But when you get to an individual, you don't have those limitations. You don't have purpose entropy, or I should say, we shouldn't have purpose entropy. Our purpose shouldn't be stretched with proxies in between. With every customer, first and foremost, we are our biggest customer, right? So we should introspect frequently and ask ourselves, is this working? But others, there's no proxy between them. We can just directly communicate with people, and we should, right? That is being customer centric to ourselves and to the people directly around us. Beyond that, empathizing with other personas, definitely there. And that's where the blend becomes between DevOps and customer centricity. But at the end, it is really introspecting and asking yourself if you're an individual and empathizing if you're a business. And that really forms the framework, right? So the GLAD customer mindset governance model, where it's based on the GLAD customer mindset and principles, um, using your values. And the governance model is how that framework uses data to make decisions and tries to keep that data similar, whole, as much as possible. The sum of the parts add up to the whole versus things bigger than that, right? Keep it simple.